Good evening. A 24-year-old man has pleaded guilty to the murder of Plymouth teenager Bobbi-Anne McLeod. The 18-year-old disappeared after leaving her home in the Liam area of the city in November of last year. Her body was found 3 days later near Bobbi-Anne.
Cody Ackland from the Southway area of Plymouth pleaded guilty in court this morning and will be sentenced next month. In a moment, we'll hear from Jackie Bird in Liam for us this evening. But first, let's take you to Sam Blackledge, who is outside Plymouth Crown Court. And Sam, this was a very emotional morning for Bobbi-Anne's family who were in court.
Yes, Johnson, an important day in court for everybody who was close to young Bobbi-Anne McLeod. Cody Ackland, who was a local musician in a band, was brought into court today. He had appeared in court before, having been arrested in the days following Bobbi-Anne's death last year. But today was the first chance he had to enter a plea. He was brought up to the dock. He was wearing a grey sweatshirt and blue jeans. And when the single count of murder was put to him, he replied with just one word: guilty. Very quickly, the hearing was over. There were some cries and tears from Bobbi-Anne's family, and Cody Ackland was taken back into custody after being told he would face a full life sentence. The face of a killer. 24-year-old Cody Ackland today admitted to murder, more than 4 months after the death of teenager Bobbi-Anne McLeod. It was early on a Saturday evening last November when 18-year-old student Bobbi-Anne disappeared from a bus stop near her home. For 3 agonising days, nobody knew where she was, until her body was discovered in woodland on the South Devon coast. The circumstances of how and why have not yet been revealed. But this morning at Plymouth Crown Court, Bobbi-Anne's friends and family gathered to hear the man responsible for her death finally admit his crime. There were emotional scenes in court today as Cody Ackland pleaded guilty to the murder of Bobbi-Anne McLeod. The judge, Robert Linford, told Ackland that since he had pleaded guilty to murder, he can expect a full life sentence. The minimum term will be decided at a separate hearing next month. Bobbi-Anne's death prompted a wave of grief, shock and anger across the city and started a complex conversation about safety and the prevalence of violence against women and girls.
We've had lots of protests in the city since Bobbi-Anne's death, and it was so soon as well. It was within a week that we noticed things coming up on social media and lots of people having their opinion and saying it, which is the important thing. I think before we didn't feel brave enough or safe enough to be able to say what we truly felt about this issue. But I think when something like this happens, you lose all of that. That's not the important thing. It's, you know, we're here for Bobbi-Anne and this is what we want to make sure never happens again.
Plymouth City Council set up a committee to hear evidence and look more closely at how things can improve, while Devon and Cornwall Police has promised to do more to help people challenge inappropriate behaviour.
I suppose it's a positive step with somebody who's pled guilty to such a heinous crime, and I think for the family at the moment, I just can't imagine what they'll be going through, and I hope they get some closure over the coming months in terms of, and some answers to the why, which is all anyone wants to know. You'll never bring back Bobbi-Anne McLeod. No justice will ever be served that will ever do that for the family. And so I appreciate that while we're going through a process of criminal justice, we won't reach that point for the family of ever feeling like they've got full closure on this. But, you know, all I have to say is a huge thank you to the police, the Crown Prosecution Service, the courts, for all, you know, their hard work in trying to bring this perpetrator to justice.
Cody Ackland will next appear in court to be sentenced on May the 19th. Well, as the investigation comes to an end, Devon and Cornwall Police have this evening released a statement. They say, "Our thoughts remain with the McLeod family and those close to Bobbi-Anne who have had a daughter, sister and friend so cruelly taken from them."
Sam Blackledge, thank you very much.